I've had some ideas for videos backed up. So today, likely tomorrow, I'm going to be trying to get some of those done. And this one is simple. I bought this week. And I've been going through it because I already have this. Now, hockey card stories, you might look at it and say, well, I don't really care about hockey cards. That's not really my thing. But they're not stories about hockey cards. They're stories about the guys. The card is a gateway into finding out about the story behind a card. So, for instance, Orest Kindrachuk. This picture right here, that's a beauty of a card, that is. And then there's a chapter on that, and it's making it look mean. He's got different chapters. 59 tales in this book, 59 tales in this book. Ken Reid writes very well, and from what I can see from these books, Ken Reid and I have a very similar experience in growing up loving hockey and loving hockey cards and enjoying hockey cards and having cards that you want to know the story behind. For instance, error cards. Error cards are fun, and he gets into those, which is good because I have right here. Okay, where did I put them? They're right here. No, yeah, there they are. Here we are. He actually has this Joel Otto in the new book. He has this Joel Otto where it's actually Mo LeMay. I also have the Mo LeMay where it's actually Joel Otto, and they just said, screw it. So I thought it was funny that he included that because that's my favorite of the error cards. There it is. There's the Mo LeMay. So this is actually Mo LeMay. And that's actually Joel Otto on a Mo LeMay card. And the best part is how it says now with Canucks on the Mo LeMay card, where it's Joel Otto's picture, and Joel Otto never played for the Canucks. But on the Joel Otto card, where it's Mo LeMay, they didn't bother writing now with Flames. They went, screw it. I don't care. But cards are fun. Like anything with a flying V, I want it. That's an automatic. So I have team sets of the Canucks from years and years and decades ago. And so as a collector, these are fun books. But there's something else that's coming out of these books. And it's a question I've been asking myself lately. So today, Nikita Sherbak's on waivers from Montreal, which again begs this question. Zikov's on waivers a couple days ago. Now it's Sherbak on waivers again. At what point does a prospect become a project, become a bust? So you're drafted at 18, maybe 19. And coming out of the draft, you're seen as being, he's NHL, he's got the NHL size, he's got NHL ability. This is an NHL player. This kid's going to be great. The following year, you're a year older. Maybe you don't make the team. Something happens. Maybe there's no room for you on the team. They've drafted a whole swath of new players behind you. So now you're a year older, and there's other prospects coming in with just as much hype as you got in all likelihood. Year 3, maybe you had an injury. Maybe something happened. And in most cases, what I'm reading with these guys, it's usually an injury that'll take them completely out of the pipeline. So when they come back at 22, sometimes they're 23 or 24, the team looks and goes, well, we could put the resources into getting you on the ice and getting you ready for the NHL. But we have these 18, 19-year-olds. And as an investment, it makes more sense to go with the 18 or 19-year-olds than it does to go with the 24-year-old. So we're just going to have to let you go. And then what happens is that's how you get guys who end up in the American Hockey League their entire career. Or when the NHL dream is over, they go over to Europe and have a very solid career over there. And it's trying to figure out that dividing line between this kid's a really good prospect and they're gone. And that's where it's interesting. Like Zikov is playing for Edmonton right now, right? Edmonton got him. And we can all agree that's a no-brainer. Good move by Edmonton. Great. But if Zikov doesn't score in, say, 8 or 9 games, and then Edmonton waives him, a month from now, people are going to be like, well, he's a bum, clearly. Couldn't even make the Oilers, so he's a bum. So there's that weird dividing line that takes place here, because I've seen it in the last couple of years, where a player will come in with a lot of hype, and it'll die, or the opposite, where a player will come in with no hype, and they actually have a pretty solid career. So I'm going to continue going through these. If you don't have them, first off, I would like to thank a subscriber, Craig, for sending me this one in the first place, and causing me to want to go out and buy this one. These are not this is not a book I would have likely bought on my own, and then come up with it. Because when I remember I looked at it in Kohl's, and I'm like, yeah, there's some interesting cards, but And I didn't really go through it. I'm like, well, it's 59 stories on 59 cards, but it's not like it's Gretzky and Crosby or anything. The funny thing is, if it was Gretzky and Crosby, it likely wouldn't have been nearly as interesting. So I'm really glad it got sent to me, because now, like, for instance, Strike a Pose, there's Brent, Wayne, and Keith Gretzky. It's a good book. It's honestly, it's a good book. The Gilbert Dion one is funny. So the story he tells about the Gilbert Dion one, you'll see he's throwing a baseball, and it's just simple. It's just, you know, a photographer's like, so what else do you like to do? And he's like, I don't know, I used to play baseball. I got a baseball and a glove here. Seriously? All right, fine, I'll just throw the baseball. Here I am. And it's really funny. And I think still my favorite in the book is Bob McGill talking about this card. I have that card. It's a sexy card. And the fact that Bob McGill's hair looks orange. That I find really funny, because I hadn't really thought of it. I remember thinking it was weird, because here's this tough guy like, hey, how you doing? And it's just really weird. The hey, how you doing look coming from Bob McGill of all people. But the story that goes with it is really quite entertaining. So, coming out of these books, odds are I'll have some other video ideas for obscure players. Guys that nobody's going to watch a video on, but I do want to discuss, like, guys who have a decent career, but they're always seen as a bust because they don't make it. But how many of them is it because of injury and because the team just says we're not going to invest our time and money, because now we've got these shiny brand new prospects and we can likely get them to the NHL easier than to rehabilitate you and get you up there. And at best, you're a fourth liner. They could be top 6. So, it's an interesting topic for discussion. Let me know what you guys think. Because again, you know, I'm catching up on things I've wanted to talk about over the last couple of weeks today. And this is definitely on there. So if you haven't read it, I recommend it. Ken Reid's a good writer. I do need to read the Dennis Maruk story as well. I know I've had people saying I should do a video on Dennis Maruk, but I have a funny feeling the Ken Reid book tells Dennis Maruk's story better than I ever could. So I at least would need to get the book and read through it first before I'm going to do any video on a guy that... Right now I've got Epic Mustache, was one of my favorite players in the 80s. He kind of flamed out all of a sudden, and I could go through all of his stats. But again, the book's going to get into that, and I'd really be interested to read it so that I can have more of an educated opinion before I'm going to do something like that. Because, again, good player... likely never in the Hall of Fame, but scored 60 goals in a season once, so pretty decent shot. And it is, again, much like what I'm talking about with projects out of prospects and how sometimes they just don't pan out. Sometimes you're a star in the league one day, and then it just fades. Look at Gary Lehman. Lehman 50 goals, and then it just fades away, right? Jonathan Chichu's an example of that recently, where, you know, 56 goals, he's best goal scorer in the league, and then it just stopped. So that's an interesting video series that I could do as well, but and Dennis Maruk would likely get into that various video series as well. But I recommend both books, and I'm not getting paid for this at all. I don't make a cent off this endorsement. I'm bad at the endorsements thing. I've honestly made no money on endorsements. Zilch. I do this simply because I want to give you guys something to read while you're waiting for William Nylander to sign a contract. yes, the bizarre videos today are in part because I'm like, you know what? Everybody's like, there's likely a lot of Leaf fans waiting on Nylander news. I want to make sure I'm giving them something else to talk about rather than just Nylander today, because it's going to drive people nuts. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and I'll talk to you again soon.